So today I thought we'd talk about waterproof EVA boxes and the benefits of using them. Making my way downtown, being a clown, filming some EVA boxes. Doodle-doo-doo-doo, doodle-doo. Now there's no denying that there's a growing trend in fishing right now when it comes to waterproof luggage, which is why Nash have now brought out the new WaterBox range. So I'll get into all the details of everything around me at the moment, but whether you want to transport smaller items from tackle items all the way up to clothing, bait boats and things like that, they're pretty much covered within this range. Before I tell you about the basics of these, grab yourself a glass and your favourite drink, and let's turn this first bit into a drinking game for every time I say the word range, because within the range there's two different ranges. You've got the 100 range and the 200 range. Caught up yet? Pour yourself another one, because the 100 range is obviously the smaller items, so from your tackle items like bait needles, rig materials, PVA box for all your PVA bag stuff, all the way up to your marker floats and things like that, and maybe some smaller few kilos of baits in one of those. Then we go over to the 200 range, which starts from 200 all the way up to 230, and this is for much more of your larger items. It's a bit more load bearing. You've got carry straps, an added extra shoulder strap which comes separate. You've got grab handles, so it's just slightly more beefed up version of these for slightly larger items. So there's 100 range, 200 range in the WaterBox range. You should be well oiled by now.
What's that got to do with it? It's all the same thing. It's all religious, isn't it?
Now, it's not just the sizes that are slightly different between the 100s and the 200s. Now, actually, the materials are ever so slightly different as well. So it's worth noting that the 100 range is made of a 0.8mm thick EVA wool with a 1mm thick reinforced base, and all the tops are see-through with a slight tint to them, so they're actually darkened off. And some of them, so this box, this box, this box, and this box, not the marker float one, and these two smaller ones, they also come with an added zipped pocket, mesh pocket, which is actually sort of sealed on the inside. Excuse the digger to my right. It's actually sealed on the inside with a similar material to the top. So if you put bait needles and things like that in there, they're not going to get caught in the mesh, which is a very common problem with these sort of things. When there's a mesh pocket, yes, it seems ideal, but all the little items you stick in there just get caught in that mesh. So it's not mesh on the inside. It's kind of another sort of rubberized texture in there, so it's covered, if that makes sense. Anyway, moving on to the 200 range, I'll zip this back up. It's worth noting single zips all the way around on these, because on the 200 range you have dual zips for 3 sides, so they're very easy to undo both directions, heavy duty grab handles, and you've also got clipping points here for the added extra or additional extra, which you buy separately, shoulder straps. If you want to get that to use instead of the grab handles, there's also on here heavy duty grab handles on there, you can get that. But also the materials used are ever so slightly different. You've got 1mm thick EVA walls all the way around and a 1.5mm thick base, so it's just a bit more beefed up. The lids are ever so slightly different. I'll get onto this a bit more in a second, but much more hard wearing on the top, a bit more rigid, so you can actually use these as little tables, and they do build up together, which I'll get onto in a second. But that's the two in a nutshell when it comes to the materials. The 100 range is also very good when it comes to modularity. So if you like to play Tetris whilst you're carp fishing, you can do so with the 100 range and with the 200 range to an extent, but these are more standalone items, and some of these would probably fit within these if you wanted to as well. But here I've got the 130, which I open that up, and as you can see, because they're flat-sided and rigid like this, they slot in easily like so. So I've got a 100 here, I've got a 105, this one is. I could easily put a 105 and 2 of the 100s side by side in there. So if you like to build things up modularly, if that's a word, and again, as you see here, you've got the mesh zip, which isn't quite a mesh, as I mentioned. So everything just builds together quite nicely. So if you like to mix and match and take certain items with you on one session, and when you get home, take out, say, your surface fishing kit and put in your PVA bag kit into the box, you can do so. So they work together hand in hand, nice and easily, like so. Due to the nature of these water boxes being waterproof, it opens up the possibilities of what you want to store within them. So at the moment, I've got this bag full of spare clothes. I've got them in carry bags as well, just because that's naturally how I carry them around, stuff them in there, and if it rained or I left this outside by accident or it fell off a boat when I was going to a swim, I know that I can get that out and it's not going to be any issues. Because it's also worth noting that the 200 range have reversed zips as well, just to add that waterproof proofness on the zips, so that everything else is obviously waterproof. The biggest weakness on these is going to be the zips, so the fact that they are double-sided to make them even less prone to water ingress makes them very, very good indeed. You can store bait in these, of course. You can have stack loads of boilies in there, or floater mixes, whatever you want. And because they don't have zips that could potentially fall off in the car if you have to brake suddenly, because it's all zipped up, because it doesn't have lids, they're not going to fall open in the car and spill your bait everywhere. Same as on the bank as well. If you kick one of these over when it's done up, rest assured it's not going to pop the lid off. Thank you, digger, very much on cue. This is my life here. It's not going to spill the beans on the inside, or spill the boilies, shall we say. Now, of course, most of us try and be as careful as possible with all of our items on the bank. But accidents do happen. Whether a mate comes in your swim and accidentally chucks one of your buckets into the water, at least you know that even if it has your valuables in, that didn't go too far, is it? I can still grab it. Even if it has your valuables in, it gives you time to go and get it, if you can reach it. Bring it in and know that the water hasn't got inside. And lastly, sticking with the 200 range, they stack. If you have a look at the front, or the top of this, sorry, you'll see there's indentations in the solid lid. Same on this, same on this one, not the smallest one, but on the underneath, we have these feet which marry up with those indentations on these boxes. So you can stack these up nice and easily, and they're not going to move around as easy as they would if they didn't have that feature. Quite handy. So the prices, of course, they're going to vary massively from the 100 smallest all the way up to the 230 biggest. And the range starts at $14.99 for the smallest in the 100 range, and goes all the way up to $84.99 for the 230 in the obviously 200 range. So obviously everything else is somewhere in the middle of all of that. But for more information, please do head over to the Nash website. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you again soon.